Hello there and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching L24 World News Program, and starting with the main headlines. The Biden administration says it will send Ukraine a small number of high-tech medium-range rocket system critical weapons that Ukrainian leaders ask for as they struggle to stall Russian progress in the Donbas region. The Indian government is limiting sugar exports to 10 million tons up through September. Shanghai lifts the most significant anti-COVID restrictions imposed for 2 months on its 25 million inhabitants. Rafael Nadal has won in the quarterfinals in the French Open against Novak Djokovic, advancing to the Roland Garros semi-final with a 3-1. Hello again and welcome. Those were today's top stories. I'm Abdurrahman Kashur and you will be watching the news with me. The Biden administration says it will send Ukraine a small number of high-tech medium-range rocket systems. It is a critical weapon that Ukrainian leaders ask for as they struggle to stall Russian progress in the Donbas region. U.S. administration said that the rocket systems are part of the new $700 million tranche of security assistance for Ukraine from the U.S. that will include helicopters, Javelin anti-tank weapon systems, tactical vehicles, spare parts, and more. The head of the Lugansk region military administration said Russian troops are now in control of the most of Severodonetsk. Part of the Ukrainian troops have now retreated to more advantageous pre-prepared position, while other troops continue fighting inside the city. Nabil Khazini has more to tell.
While much has been made to slow the Russian advance in the Donbas region, the speed of territorial gains from Russia has come to a stage where half of the eastern Ukrainian city of Severodonetsk to be now under the control of the Russian forces. Moscow's sights is focused on the seize of the entire Donetsk and neighboring Luhansk region. Lysychansk residents fear it is only a matter of time before the Russians capture the city.
To tell the truth, I can't believe I'm living in a shelter at my age. I'm like a homeless person.
There in Kiev, meanwhile, Ukraine's president says the difficulties his country is facing in the east are only because of a lack of appropriate weaponry to stop the advance of a rival equipped of all modern means of ammunition.
Our plans are clear. We will deoccupy our entire territory, which historically belongs to us, and in accordance to all international laws. This is our plan.
Back to the east now, in Mariupol, there the leader of Russian-backed separatists says his administration will take over some of the ships in the port of a city almost completely destroyed by the war.
Some of the vessels will come under the jurisdiction of the Donetsk People's Republic. The relevant decisions have been made. It's also already clear what flags that will be on them. These ships will be renamed.
Heavy fighting continues in the Donetsk region, where Russian forces are regrouping, seeking to encircle the city of Severodonetsk.
In the same line of thought, the Western allies welcomed the embargo on Russian oil imports decided by 27 countries of the European Union to hinder Russia's advancement in Ukraine and to put an end to the war. Zara Frujani.
EU leaders agreed on Monday in principle to cut 90% of oil imports from Russia, the bloc's toughest sanction yet on Moscow since the start of the military operation in Ukraine 3 months ago. Following negotiations in Brussels on the 6th sanctions package against Russia, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz welcomed the Russian oil embargo. Scholz stated that the sanctions aim to end Russian war and withdraw its troops from Ukraine.
Regardless of this decision, we have told everyone else that we will continue our efforts relentlessly with the aim of renouncing the import of Russian petroleum products by the end of the year.
The United States also welcomed the embargo on Russian oil imports decided by the 27 countries of the European Union. American diplomacy spokesman Ned Price told the press in Washington that the US had already announced a ban on all imports of Russian hydrocarbons.
And we applaud the steps by our European allies and partners to reduce their reliance on Russian oil and natural gas by diversifying their sources of energy and reducing consumption in line with our shared climate goals. As you know, there is a near-term component to this, and the EU took an important step on that near-term path, but then there's also a longer-term path that has more to do, less to do with the day-to-day and more to do with trends over time and the broader need to lessen our reliance on Russian energy and fossil fuels.
This embargo on Russian oil within 6 months and refined products within 8 months is the flagship measure, but also the thorniest of the 6th package of European sanctions against Russia. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban has vigorously opposed EU's package of sanctions, threatening to derail the bloc's efforts to punish Moscow for its war if they affected energy imports to Hungary.
During an official visit to Bahrain, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said that Western countries, which have created a lot of problems by closing their ports to Russian ships, removing logistics and financial chains, must think seriously about food security crisis and how to solve it.
Western countries, which have created a ton of man-made problems by closing their ports to Russian ships, cutting logistics and financial chains, need to think hard about what matters most. They need to solve the problem of food security with the concrete measures.
Polling stations opened in Denmark for voters to decide on Wednesday whether to join the European Union's defense policy. Opinion polls suggest that Danes back closer Europe. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Wednesday said Germany would supply Ukraine with modern anti-aircraft missiles and radar systems. The announcements that Germany planned to step up arms deliveries came amid criticism that it was not doing enough to help Kiev. Scholz told lawmakers that Ukraine would be provided with IRIS-T missiles developed by Germany, together with other NATO nations.
We will also be supplying further weapons in the coming weeks. For example, the German government has just decided that we will supply the IRIS-T system, the most modern air defense system that Germany has. This will enable Ukraine to protect an entire major city from Russian air attacks. That is also a decision of this federal government.
Swedish Prime Minister Magdalena Andersson said on Tuesday that the country will continue to negotiate with Turkey about joining the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is NATO. This statement came as a response to Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan regarding the talks of the Swedish and Finnish delegations in Ankara recently, in which he said that the talks were not sincere. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has named a record 10 women in the new cabinet team on Wednesday. The number surpassed the 7 in the previous Liberal National Coalition government led by Scott Morrison. The high-profile appointments include Penny Wong as Foreign Minister, Claire O'Neill as Home Affairs and Cybersecurity Minister, and Katie Culber as a Finance Minister. Shanghai on Wednesday lifted the most significant anti-COVID restrictions imposed for 2 months on its 25 million inhabitants, a further step toward an end to the restraint which frustrated the population and strangled the economy. The government also announced that full bus and subway service will be restored, as well as the basic rail connections with the rest of China. Zionist troops shot and killed a knife-wielding Palestinian woman in the occupied West Bank on Wednesday. The Palestinian Health Ministry said that the Zionist military said that an attacker armed with a knife approached a soldier conducting routine security activity north of the West Bank city of Hebron, and the soldier opened fire. It is said that no soldiers were hurt in this incident. The Palestinian Health Ministry said that the woman died after she was shot in the chest near Al Arub refugee camp. Malaysia imposed a ban on the export of chicken in an effort to deal with the shortages and high demand, a move that is already causing distress in neighboring Singapore, which depends on the poultry for its own markets and its beloved national dish. Starting from June, the Southeast Asia country will ban 3.6 million chickens a month until domestic production stabilize. The Indian government said in a statement that it would limit sugar exports 10 million tons up through September. The world's largest producer of sugar will limit sugar exports starting from this summer. In a step, as explained by the Indian government, will help halt sugar prices from soaring after the country experienced an unprecedented growth in exports last year and in this recent month. India has also limited exports of wheat earlier in May after a scorching heat wave harmed crops and its domestic prices skyrocketed. According to several UN agencies, the risk of famine in the Horn of Africa is getting worse, with the prospects of another bad rainy season. Somalia and parts of Kenya and Ethiopia have been hit by a weather phenomena unseen for at least 40 years.
Four consecutive rainy seasons have failed, which is a climatic event we haven't seen in at least 40 years. And what is really concerning now is that and this is where the WMO community comes in, the latest long lead seasonal forecasts supported by wide community of meteorological experts indicate now that there is a very real risk that the October to December rainy season could also fail. And the Food Security and Nutrition Working Group, so this is a large body of experts, estimates that 16.7 million people currently face high food insecurity and projects figures to increase to 20 million by September. We've got
more than 1,200 decision makers and 100 exhibiting companies from more than 20 African countries and around the world met in Algiers for the Digital African Summit, which is taking place in the International Center for Conferences. Hussein Burkan covered the story and came back with this.
9th consecutive edition of Algeria 2.0 Africa Digital Summit, a key event in the ICT sector which is reinventing itself with the new continental ambitions to make Algiers the African capital of innovation and entrepreneurship. Organized by the Algerian group of digital actors GAN with the support of the Algerian government, will have more than 60 conferences, workshops and intensive immersion in the African digital ecosystem.
Africa must unite. And that is why we are gathered today. Algeria is proud to welcome you here on this memorable day, when we all have this opportunity to discuss, exchange, and sketch together on future strategy for this digital transformation.
Many VIP businessmen from Africa and all over the world attended the summit. Bouderba Mohamed Monsef, giant of ceramics in Algeria and Africa and president of ACA, shared with us his perspectives.
Very proud of what our friends and brothers from African countries are showing today in Algiers, and we are grateful for their participation, and we hope that Algeria will take advantage of this opportunity, and we hope for our friends also they take advantage of what we have been doing in Algeria.
The challenges of cybersecurity, electronic signatures, and mobile payment are strongly present in the work of the summit, which will also focus on presenting the Algerian experience in the field of upgrading emerging startups that represent the future of Algeria and the continent.
A message of hope for the future. And I think this is the opportunity for the young people to connect themselves to technology and to what you say, to new technology, and to give a chance to Algeria to change the image of what is happening and, of course, to give more strength to our economy.
This large-scale event is taking place in a context marked by unprecedented boom in the digital innovation and entrepreneurship in Africa, as the number of startups increased by 42.1% compared to 2020. Algeria, which has begun to operate its digital transformation thanks to a panoply of measures, the creation of investment funds, tax exemption, a reduction in administrative procedure, and incentives for digital development, wishes to leave its mark on the transformation of Africa by contributing its stone to the building.
Local elections and parliamentary by-elections in South Korea began on Wednesday, with the results being followed after President Yoon Suk-yeol's victory in one of the country's most contested presidential campaigns. 17 metropolitan mayors and province governors, as well as 7 National Assembly representatives, will be elected on Wednesday. The voting began at 6 a.m. and will continue for 12 hours, and from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. for COVID-infected voters. President Joe Biden met on Tuesday with New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda in the Oval Office. The talks between Biden and Ardern were to center on trade, counter-terrorism, and mainly about security and U.S. economic plan for the Indo-Pacific region.
Well, good morning, everybody.
We had a good conversation about the Indo-Pacific economic framework. Look, you would have heard in my opening remarks that the CPTPP continues to be a significant focus for New Zealand. We also understand the domestic realities, but look, the United States has come forward with the IPEF, with the Indo-Pacific economic framework. We as a nation are very focused on making sure that we see tangible deliverables from that opportunity which has been presented, and we're going to take that.
A week after the shooting at the school in Uvalde, which shocked the Americans, the small Texan town buried the first victims of this massacre on Tuesday, one of the worst in the recent years in the country. Islam Seed has more to tell.
People in the southwestern Texas town are still mourning and will say goodbye to the children and their teachers who shot dead last week by a gunman at Robb Elementary School.
It could have been my grandchild, it could have been my nephew, it could have been my niece, it could have been my neighbor, it could have been whoever, you know. Nobody should ever have to go through this hardship.
Even dog trainers came from New Jersey to Texas and gathered near the memorial to offer little comfort to those affected.
It's actually touching to have something like that. You know, I'm a dog lover myself, and it actually does help you feel more comfortable, forget about what you're really going through. It's amazing how even the smallest things like that could sit there and change a little bit of your day, you know.
The emotions were also tinged with anger and blames on the police, whose response came late to put an end to the shooting.
Who screwed up? If they could tell me, oh, we made a mistake, we went the wrong decision, but my great-granddaughter is not coming back to me. She's not coming back to me. And if we keep going the way we're going.
U.S. President Joe Biden met on Tuesday with New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, who offered her sincere condolences to the U.S. and recognizes the different political systems between the two countries in terms of gun control.
Our experience demonstrated our need for gun reform, but it also demonstrated what I think is an international issue around violent extremism and terrorism online. As a leader, when you experience face-to-face the grief of a family member who has lost a loved one to a crime like this, those experiences are shared, And whilst we might have different circumstances, whilst there might be different legislative environments, that is something that we have both seen and experienced. And
Desperate calls for an end to the gun killings in the United States ring out during President Joe Biden's visit to Uvalde, who promised to keep pushing for stricter gun regulation. However, would it be implemented to curb the continuous violence in the U.S.?
Colombian rescue workers continue on Tuesday the search for 14 miners who were trapped in a coal mine in Zulia, Colombia. The miners stuck inside the mine following an explosion on Monday due to an accumulation of gases. The latter made the rescue operation more difficult to get the workers out of the collapsed mine. Hurricane Agatha made history as the strongest hurricane ever recorded to come ashore in May in the eastern Pacific, making landfall on the stretch of tourist beaches and fishing towns in the southern Mexico on Monday. The hurricane formed on Sunday and quickly giant power coming on shore in Oaxaca State on Monday afternoon. However, it was downgraded to tropical storm later on the same day. On the fourth day of the search for the victims of the torrential rains in Recife, firefighters are working intensively to remove the bodies, and the search continues for any survivors. The state government confirms 106 dead and 10 missing, and due to the rains, there is still a risk of new landslides. Ending up now with sport, Rafael Nadal has won in the quarterfinals in the French Open against Novak Djokovic, advancing to the Roland Garros semi-final with a 3-1 victory. The quarterfinal match, which ended after 1 a.m. local time in Paris, lasted more than 4 hours and was one of the most anticipated of the tournament. Nadal will face the world number 3 Alex Zverev of Germany in the semi-finals.
Well, have been, very, very tough match. No, Novak is one of the best players of the history, without a doubt. So always play against him is an amazing challenge. No, all the history that we have together. Today was another one, and to win against Novak, there is only one way: is to play at your best since the first point till the last. No, and tonight have been one of these magic nights for me, unexpected level, but I am super happy. So thank you very much.
And now let's have a reminder for our main top stories. The Biden administration says it will send Ukraine a small number of high-tech medium-range rocket system critical weapon that Ukrainian leaders ask for as they struggle to stall Russian progress in the Donbas region. The Indian government is limiting sugar exports to 10 million tons up through September. Shanghai lifts the most significant anti-COVID restrictions imposed for 2 months on its 25 million inhabitants. Rafael Nadal has won in the quarterfinals in the French Open against Novak Djokovic, advancing to the Roland Garros semi-final with a 3-1. Well, that's the end of our news program. I'm Abdurrahim Kashour signing this special thanks for you. Bye for now.